Alright everyone, if you've been watching my channel for the last couple of days, you would be aware of the horrible working conditions that the Romanians are facing that went to Germany in order to pick asparagus. It has become a national scandal here in my country where a lot of television outlets are talking about it, mainstream media is on about it, people are absolutely furious. Especially now that it seems a lot of these workers are on the streets of Germany, unable to come back home. They have been fired with less than 24-hour notice, no pay, and they can't return because the trains aren't working and the planes have limited flights. So they're trapped in Germany right now, penniless. But it seems that the progressive press, both in Germany and abroad, they don't really talk about that. Like they usually talk about how, oh, Germans are too lazy to pick their own asparagus, or British people are too lazy to pick their fruits. And wow, congratulations, the Romanians are here. Romanians are here to help. See, isn't globalism good? Isn't it so awesome that we have open borders and we can take people from poorer countries in order to pick out asparagus? Because they're the only ones capable to. The people in our country are too lazy. And they never talk about the working conditions that the Romanians are being subjected to. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, I'm going to give you the too long didn't read version. The Romanian government has shut down a lot of the businesses here, making unemployment skyrocket. So a lot of people are desperate and they're willing to do any job right now. So they're going into Germany, they're going into Britain, and the way they're doing it is that they are going with these recruitment companies. And the recruitment companies only asks for their ID. They don't really inform them where they're going to go and what the job they're going to do entails. They're just going to say, well, you're going to earn this much money if you go to Germany. So they're told to go to an airport, and when they arrive at the airport, they receive the contract. They don't even have to sign it. And then they're transported to a German company without being even told where they go or having the possibility of choosing. And then they find out that the wage that has been promised is actually a little bit lower, because even though they have been promised a certain amount, they have to pay for their own lodgings, they have to pay for their own food, they have to pay for their own transportation, so on and so forth. And the contracts are really one-sided. It seems that the company that has hired them can verbally fire them on the spot. They can say, no, you're out, and no warning given. Furthermore, it seems that according to this article, I don't know how true it is, but it says that they're being paid for the kilogram. They're not being paid for the hour, which apparently might be illegal according to EU regulations. And because of that, these people have to work 14, 16 hours a day in order to fill the quota. They have to work Saturday and Sunday. They don't get any time off. And the worst part is that if they get sick, apparently in some cases there's no doctor. They get sick, they get kicked out. And I don't see the Spiegel and the other progressive press talk about it. They talk about how lazy Germans are, but they never talk about how oppressive these companies are. So that's one of the things. The other thing is that because this is a pandemic, if you kick a worker right now on the streets, they can't return home. So, they're stuck in a country where they don't know the language. And this is something else that bothers me, like the idea that if you tell a person to learn the language is racist. That's very interesting if you think about it, isn't it? How can a person seek help if they do not speak the language? How can a person sue their employer if they cannot speak the language? Isn't that interesting? Like it's almost a handicap, isn't it? Like if I were to go to Qatar and I wouldn't speak the language there at all and no one would understand me, how easy do you think it would be for me to seek help or to sue the company that I'm working? But anyway, right, so now there's a big investigation into this. And it seems that a lot of the recruitment companies in Romania don't have a license to operate properly. It seems that shenanigans is at foot. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them have connections with politicians and the money is being laundered that way. Would be very interesting. And it would be very interesting to see if someone can do an investigation into the German companies that are doing the hiring right now. Because it's really interesting. I haven't heard about these complaints happening from the UK or from any other countries where Romanians go to work. It seems to be just these German companies, several of them, not all. And they should be investigated to see if they are definitely operating based on the EU guidelines. Because I know our farmers get investigated to see if they operate under EU guidelines. So why should it be one rule for us and another rules for them? But, that's just wishful thinking, like German companies being investigated. What world do I think I am living in, right? So let's talk a little bit about Britain. Now, from what I understand regarding the fruit pickers in the UK, the working conditions are also bad. Like you have to work 12, 14 hours a day. Sometimes you have to work in the rain. I do understand this, but this is expected. Like, this is what people sign up for. They know about it, at least. People don't know about, like, you're going to go to a farm, and if you get sick, you get kicked out with no pay, right? That is something they don't know about. But the fact that you have to go and you need to work hard, yeah, most people do understand this. But what I find interesting is that I've seen article after article that people in Britain are lazy. And they just cannot find the job from within the border. Like, there are no fruit pickers in the UK. But then you find out that 36,000 people have registered interest in picking fruits. Yeah, British people are so lazy, yet 36,000 people have registered. And do you know how many actually got hired from within the British population? Only 112. So you know what I think? I don't think British people are lazy, or there are jobs people don't want to do. I think corporations are greedy, and there are people they don't want to hire because they cost too much, and they can't abuse as much as they would like to. Because again, if you take an actual person from the UK who understands the legislation, and you make him work 14 hours a day, he might say, yeah, sure, I'm going to work 14 hours, but you're going to pay me extra. Oh, you don't want to pay me extra? Then I'll sue. An immigrant isn't going to sue, is he? With what money is he going to hire a lawyer? When does he have the time to visit the British courts when he doesn't live there? If he doesn't even speak the language, how does he even know the law of the land to know that, all right, this is a little bit... They probably won't even unionize, will they? So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot better to hire from abroad and make them work more than it's legally allowed. If I were to hire a Romanian and make him work 18 hours a day during the rain, and when he gets sick, I kick him out, I think he can sue me, and I think he's going to bankrupt me if I do that. So here's my assessment. Okay, I understand it's impossible to find people that can pick asparagus because it's such a difficult job picking asparagus. And I'm not arguing, maybe it is. Maybe it is a skilled job to pick asparagus. Then instead of funding universities that are into social studies, science studies, gender studies, right, take the money from those universities and start the asparagus picking university. And then you can go, look, I have a PhD at picking asparagus. How about that? Isn't that a great idea? I mean, if it's such a difficult job that literally in a country of millions of people that no one can do it, then it should be a PhD job. It should be a high-skilled job. It should be a high demand to hire these people because this is not okay. The people suffering the most are also the Romanian farmers. Romanian farmers cannot compete with these corporations. It's very easy for an unskilled worker to hop on a plane and make a couple of thousands of euros in Britain than to work here for a couple of hundreds of euros. And again, most people get duped. Most people get tricked. They don't even know where they're going and what they're doing. They're just promised money, they're desperate, and they're willing to take it. Again, take into account that these are simple folk. They're not scholars. They haven't done gender studies in order to understand the oppression. What they do know is how to pick asparagus from the ground. They know how to pick the fruit. They know how to plow the field. They know how to raise an animal and do husbandry, things that I don't know. They're simple folk that know how to work. And they're being taken advantage of. I think someone needs to speak out on their behalf. And again, the farmers in my country are suffering because of lack of employment. Like, what do we need to do? Get some Taiwanese and oppress them the same way the Germans oppress the Romanians and make them work 14, 16 hours a day? Is this the solution, though? Is this the solution? Like, every single country needs to get people from somewhere that is poorer than their country and oppress them. Is this the perfect society, the world we want to live in? And people are like, oh, this is capitalism. No, capitalism, you know what would actually be capitalism? Make sure that everyone follows the same laws. Okay, some companies aren't going to be able to. Some companies are going to go bankrupt. You know what will happen? Instead of a large, massive field, you're going to have like 40 or 50 smaller fields. And each of them is going to be held by an individual farmer, which instead of needing 12,000 people to do the job, is only going to need 5 or 10 people to do the job. And I guarantee to you that like 5 or 10 people, you can do it properly. And then you're going to have competition. And then you're going to have more people and more companies where you can choose where to work. And the farmers that are assholes are not going to get people going in there. And then maybe you're going to have some farmers paying more in order to encourage better people to go there. How about, is that not capitalism? Huh? And when Romania is able to keep its people in here, because they're going to be able to have decent jobs, because as the farms start developing and we're going to have, better equipment, better product, and eventually the farms are going to evolve, then we can compete with British and German farms. But that is too much capitalism, isn't it? The perfect way of capitalism is just to take people from impoverished places, drive them all the way into foreign lands, make them work 12, 14 hours a day until they get sick so they can be replaced like cogs in a machine. This is the beautiful no-border society that the left keeps advocating for. And I know someone will be like, oh no, we're not advocating for that. Well, where is the criticism? Where is Antifa protesting in front of these farms? Where are the journalists that are looking into this, that are from outside Romania? Because so far, I haven't seen anything in Der Spiegel. Maybe there is, and I haven't seen it. Please show it to me. I haven't seen anything in the British press about the working conditions that Romanians have to go into. They talk about, oh yes, people from here just cannot deal with the conditions. Yeah, I'll tell you something. If I take a job in my country, and the employer is an absolute asshole. Not only does he not pay me on time, but he makes me work 14 hours a day, makes me work Saturday and Sunday. I can go, you know what? I don't need this shit. I quit. But if you travel all the way somewhere in Qatar, and your employer is an asshole, can you really say I quit? Because you're going to think, well, do I even have money to return home? Do I even manage to go back home if I want to? So you're basically, you're literally taking people from so far away and you're putting them in the condition that that job is basically dependent on whether they can return home or not. And then they're going to do the job because they have no other choice. Like you're making them out of desperation to do that labor, which is insanely difficult. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm really following this progressive utopia that has been promised. And you know what's even funnier? Like if you really want to jiggle and get a ha-ha out of it, a woman working at a supermarket in Germany has an easier job, like just being a cashier. She has an easier job and earns a lot more than these poor Romanian farmers that are being exploited.